Putin tells Snowden to stop leaking US secrets if he wants asylum. Egypt's president rejects an army ultimatum to resolve differences. And a Nepalese boy trapped in a culvert after a fight with other youngsters.
Good evening. In a surprising revelation today, Russia's President Vladimir Putin went to bat for the United States. He told intelligence whistleblower Edward Snowden Russia will grant him asylum as long as he stops leaking American secrets. Terms Snowden cannot abide by, causing him to cancel his bid for asylum in Russia. But he does have a dozen other asylum requests out there, including one made to China. The United States may not realize it, but when it comes to meddlesome Edward Snowden, they've just cashed in a big fat chip with Russia. While they don't have Snowden's head on a platter via arresting him and trying him for espionage, they do have Russia helping them to muzzle the whistleblower. In a deal only Vladimir Putin can pull off to his advantage, the Russian leader said if Snowden wants asylum in his country, he needs to stop harming U.S. interests.
If he wants to go anywhere and someone will accept him, he is welcome. If he wishes to stay here, then we have one condition. He must stop his work aimed at harming our American partners.
In an off-color remark, Putin also questioned Snowden's human rights excuse for leaking U.S. secrets.
Although it sounds very strange coming from me, he positions himself as a fighter for human rights, and he's not going to stop this activity.
Treating Putin's announcement like a slap in the face, Snowden immediately yanked his asylum bid in Russia. With his U.S. passport null and void and still holed up in a transit zone in a Moscow airport, Snowden has some serious thinking to do. Ecuador's President Rafael Correa reiterated they can't even consider granting him asylum until he reaches Ecuadorian soil. But Venezuela's president said protecting Snowden would be an honor. Nicolas Maduro called Snowden a champion for speaking the truth and deconstructing a world controlled by an imperialist American elite. This former French spy maintains U.S. surveillance is no surprise, saying every country does it.
Certainly Germany and France, for instance, and certainly France is spying the United States when they can.
But the latest news at the U.S. tapped European Union offices has Germany and France fuming mad.
Clarity and transparency is what we expect from our partners and allies.
And if it turned out to be true, then it would be unacceptable. We're no longer in the Cold War.
While Snowden cries foul that the U.S. has made him a stateless man, WikiLeaks confirms he has asylum bids in a dozen different countries. While visiting Tanzania yesterday, U.S. President Barack Obama had one simple answer to European outrage over new allegations that his country spies on its allies. He said the Europeans do it too. The European Union is demanding the United States explain if Washington was spying on the bloc, and if it's true, such surveillance is shocking. But Obama maintains every country does it in the name of intelligence gathering. He went on to assure his allies the U.S. will address their concerns.
Every intelligence service, not just ours, but every European intelligence service, every Asian intelligence service, wherever there's an intelligence service, here's one thing that they're going to be doing. They're going to be trying to understand the world better and what's going on in world capitals around the world.
In other international news, Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has rejected an army ultimatum that calls on the country's feuding politicians to agree on an inclusive roadmap for the country's future. Morsi said he would pursue his own plans for national reconciliation. Alan Buckner reports.
The dramatic military broadcast came after millions of people across Egypt took to the streets Sunday demanding that Morsi step down. General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the head of Egypt's armed forces, gave the country's political leaders 48 hours to come up with an agreement on the road forward. He did not say what the army might do if there's no agreement. Military helicopters trailing Egypt's flag circled over Cairo following the announcement. Thousands gathered outside the presidential palace, celebrating the armed forces' ultimatum. One of the opposition leaders, Ammar Moussa, a former presidential candidate, welcomed the army's declaration.
The call has to be issued to all Egyptians. Now there is a window of opportunity has been opened by the army, and under its aegis, we need to do that. We need to use all our political forces and our logic to try to get Egypt out of this very, very serious situation.
Supporters of Morsi used the word coup to describe the military maneuver. Morsi issued a statement saying the presidency would move forward on its own path. U.S. President Barack Obama, who's in Africa on a three-nation tour, spoke on the phone with Morsi, urging cooperation.
There's more work to be done to create the conditions in which everybody feels that their voices are heard and that the government is responsive and truly representative. And so what we've encouraged the government to do is to reach out to the opposition and work through these issues in a political process.
The Army's ultimatum has raised concerns over a military takeover similar to the one in 2011 after the ouster of autocrat Hosni Mubarak. Alan Buknia, TVB News.
Some local news now, and a 6-year-old Nepalese boy is in hospital recovering after he was rescued from a culvert in Yamate late last night. He was reported missing on Sunday morning. Police arrested his mother and her boyfriend for suspected child neglect, as well as 2 boys who are suspected to have abused and abducted him. Trevor Lee reports.
Police officers continued searching the scene for evidence today after they found the boy in a culvert near Chengping Street around 11 last night. Assistant Divisional Commander Zhang Yuwo said the boy was heard calling for help and found trapped under a drainage cover in the culvert. The police officer said the concrete lead was about the same size as the 6-year-old boy and believes it was simply too heavy for him to move. There's a highway between the culvert and the closest residence, and where the boy was trapped is quite hidden under the grass here. The boy was rushed to hospital with wounds on his arms and legs and severe dehydration, but is now in a stable condition. Police said the boy was taken to the Saikong Street playground by his mother and her boyfriend on Saturday night. It's believed the 2 adults left afterwards, before an argument broke out between the boy and another boy. Police investigations show the other boy brought 2 others into the fight, and the 3 took the 6-year-old to Chengping Street, where he was pushed into the culvert. Police arrested 2 boys aged 8 and 14 respectively, and are still hunting down a 10-year-old boy. The victim's mother and her boyfriend were also arrested on suspicion of child neglect, but have now been released on bail. Trevor Lee, TVB News.
A coroner's inquest has ruled that a fire which left 4 people dead in an old building near To Kwa Wan 2 years ago was accidental. But the coroner criticised the fire services department for failing to work out what caused the blaze, and he questioned whether the department's investigators were up to the job. Rani Samtani reports.
The inquest into a fire which left 4 people dead in a building along Matawai Road 2 years ago ended today, with the coroner's court concluding the blaze was most likely started by a leftover cigarette, incense or candles. Coroner Michael Chan noted that evidence presented by the buildings and electrical and mechanical services departments proved that the fire was not the result of a power failure. The fire started in a storeroom in a subdivided flat on the ground floor. Smoke rose along the staircase, but residents from other flats that were able to escape only sustained minor burns. The coroner criticized the fire services department for failing to identify the cause of the fire. Chan cited a number of instances in which the department cited, "Cause of the fire is unknown." As a result, Chan questioned the competency of the department's investigators. After questioning department investigators further, Chan believes they had just copied the government laboratory investigation report. The fire broke out at 3 a.m. on June 15, 2011, and left a mother, her 2 children, and an 18-year-old girl dead. The coroner called on the government to improve conditions of old residential buildings so as to prevent future accidents. As of today, there are still a number of subdivided flats in the building where the fire took place. Last year, notices were placed in the building telling residents to remove rubbish and belongings from the staircase. But rubbish could still be found along the staircases today. The ground floor storeroom where the blaze started has been enclosed with concrete. Residents say after the fire, all doors were replaced with fireproof doors. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
And still ahead in our newscast, a LegCo committee approves Tuen Mun and Takuling landfill expansion plans. India launches its first navigational satellite, and a paper lantern thought to have sparked the largest fire in Birmingham for years.
Single, hairy, brown female seeks massive, promiscuous male.
Bears are people too. Chris Morgan follows them for a season to see how they live.
Can you imagine the sensory overload that these cubs are going through right now?
Tonight, Bears of the Last Frontier at 9:30 on Pearl Spectacular. Pearl's amazing summer. It's fantastic.
Why this watch? This watch has witnessed the epic, the world's most famous fortnight, and a century of traditions unchanged. It's heard the hush of the crowd, the whip of the maestro. On the lawn of the court's center stage, it doesn't just tell time, it tells history.
Power Hits 2013 featuring Rihanna, Carly Rae Jepsen, Psy, Maroon 5, Imagine Dragons, and many more. Power Hits 2013. Available in stores and iTunes.
Tense, noun, adverb, pronoun, adjective, be, participle.
咦，咪搞啦！英文真係咁難咩？要全面提升英語水平，就要有心得。集合經驗導師，掌握課程重點。Net English here to back you up。查詢熱線22648088。
I'm no ordinary TV. I'll show you why.
My home screen.
With face recognition, I can display your favorite content instantly. And if you want to search the internet, just talk to me and I'll get it for you. Who am I? I'm Smart TV. Made easy. Smart Viera.
Panasonic.
And we're back tonight with more local news. Lawmakers on a LegCo committee have approved government plans to extend landfills in North District and Tuen Mun. And the Environment Chief promised to form a new committee to support the recycling industry to lessen the burden of these landfills. Rachel Lung reports.
After a last-minute withdrawal of the Cheung Kwan O landfill expansion plan, the government got more support from lawmakers in LegCo today. As an olive branch, Secretary for the Environment Wong Kam Sing started off today's Public Works Subcommittee meeting by promising to set up a new committee to better develop the city's recycling system.
So that departments can work together to promote the long-term development of the recycling industries and to create the so-called green-collar jobs.
The new committee will be chaired by Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam and will also consider ways to provide subsidies for the recycling industry. Under the support of pro-government lawmakers, the proposal to expand the Tuen Mun and Ta Kuling landfills were passed by the Public Works panel. But before the projects can go ahead, the $7 billion expansion of Ta Kuling and $35 million for the Chun Mun landfill still has to gain the approval from the Finance Committee next week. Wong said he will continue to lobby